My name's Leeanne Quinn. I'm going to read poems from my forthcoming collection, Some Lives. The first poem I'm going to read engages with the memoirs of Nadezhda Mandelstam, Hope Against Hope and Hope Abandoned. The poem references incidents in her husband Osip Mandelstam's life. And it starts with an epigram by Nadezhda, but miracles, as we know, are not repeated. The poem is called The Distant Past. This all happened in the distant past, when, in my borrowed coat, I buried a book. It was a time of miracles. I don't know if bad things come in 2s and 3s, or if luck bears its own pattern, but miracles cannot be repeated. I learned this quickly, if not easily, as I patted down my coat on the snowy street like someone being searched. Of course I've been complicit too. So many people want only to make others happy. But why should I expect to be happy? Why do I go on misreading the signs at every turn? A man walks out in a dead man's clothes, still holding the shape of the dead man's body. There's many deaths I don't wish for. One in particular taunts me. I've dreamt it so many times. It's as good as done. But somehow, like this stubborn snow, I am still here. I once saw a man threaten to toss a live mouse onto a hot pan. I know what the idea was, can still see the mouse dangling by its tail from his fat fingers. And that could probably sum it up. But as the snow sticks to the cuff of my coat, I glimpse from the corner of my eye the shade of a future where, warmed and absolved, we'll spend our time living this down. The next two poems engage with the life and writings of the Russian poet Marina Tsvetaeva. The first poem is called Any Weather and has an epigram by Tsvetaeva which reads, "Only my basic no remains." Yesterday we moved again from one room to another. I have refused the suburbs where life will simply not go. I'd rather be where it goes badly. I write letters today instead of poems, and tomorrow postcards will better suit this reducing down of myself to negatives. I used to think any weather. I used to think any state. Used to think anyone could carry any burden and still retain a handful of happiness, like a handful of grain. I used to have quite a cheerful nature, would go out in any weather. Now I don't think to go out at all beyond necessity, which is now my only state. I fear everything, am unable to suppress it. I have had no summer, but I do not regret it. As I write, I am almost ashamed to let you know I am here and still alive. I wrote the next poem after reading about Tsvetaeva's first encounter with the sea and how this encounter was a huge disappointment to her, as it did not in any way live up to the sea of her imagination. Not at all like the sea. And what kind of silence is the silence of seeing the sea behind glass as white waves crash without sound, without? The ridge of the waves is a ridge of ice covering the ridge of a mountain. The waves are tankers or roads revealed by tankers. Is that the sea? That's not the sea at all, not at all like the sea. And of course, how could it be? The sea holds you horizontal. What can I do with that? Waves cannot be walked. The sea can only bring me under, like love. I want to be high in the blue mountain. I want to be the mountain high in the blue, above this soft, above this silent sea. The collection also engages with the poet Anna Akhmatova. And this next poem I wrote after reading about a dream Akhmatova had where the secret police came for her husband, but instead of giving up her husband, she presents them with her son. The poem has an epigram from Akhmatova which reads, "But a dream is also something real." Magnesium, or Akhmatova's dream. Winter shadows the last frost of spring. Soon it will be bright early. A flash of square light from a window. No one is sleeping. A knock on the door. Wood shapes your name. I fetch you from behind a curtain where you are only a child. I am happy to give you up. Magnesium pulses behind my eyes. An empty room, the only exhibit. No need for acquittals. I am tired of dreaming only of the dead. Besides, I will have plenty more nights to save you. I was reading about the 19th century writer Samuel Burleigh Rowbotham, also known as Parallax, when I wrote this next poem. Parallax was what we would call a flat earther. He toured England during the 19th century, giving lectures on why he believed the earth to be flat. The poem draws on his writings and his defence of his theories. On a flat earth. What colour is the sky? Why does a ship's hull disappear before the mast? What is the true distance of the sun from the earth? Explain the cause of tides. What is the dip sector? What causes the sun to rise? Explain lunar and solar eclipses. Account for daylight. Explain winter and summer. Account for loss of time when sailing. Explain the deflection of falling bodies. Elaborate on experiment 3. Account for the moon's phases. Discuss the planet Neptune. Elaborate on experiment 6. Explain the stages of the earth. Give Earth's true position in the universe. Account for formation. Account for destruction by fire. The next poem is a sea poem. The same sea. The same sea rings in my ears, though they say it is the wind making its way through the valley. I can tell it is the same sea. The wind doesn't ring. The wind goes right through me, leaves the hair of my skin standing high. We are miles from sea, they hiss, as though I have suggested we roam on a flat earth. When I lie down, it is all I can hear, the lap and pulse. Even when I hold my breath, the sound never ceases. I sleep with arms outstretched, head steady, a dead man's float, all I have to shore me to morning. This next poem I wrote shortly after moving to Munich, where I now live. It's called Precedence. The trams still run on time, people still lie in the sun, on our backs in a room, a stack of books is a home. We can still walk in and out of galleries, look at the sky, and think it is a paint shade of blue we have waited to see. In the city where the trams still run, and we greet each other with smiles, and greet each other with smiles. While the trams still run, our hands are not too tight in each other's. And what precedence has this day over any other? We have lived in the cold, where the cold kept us pacing, and our lips moving, and your lips moving, your hand at your ear, where your blood echoes the blue, could be winter blue, where the ice grows grounding, the town, the river beneath, still seething, where nothing appears to move, it is moving, as we are moving, in the coarse light of the tram, in the coarse moving light of the tram. This next poem is a winter poem. Smoke. Winter fills my lungs with smoke as I breathe in the new year in this old house. Winter of locked doors and empty rooms. Winter of ill winds and thrashing rains. Winter, was I always this afraid? Smoke billows from the bonnet of my car, and I think house, not car. I think beautiful bonfire. I think your blood into flames, your charts into char. I think with your precision. Oh, how we both know precisely, more than the other now. You how to go, me how to go without. And yet here you are, asking from across another winter's divide. Are you okay? Answer first, and I swear. Smoke billows into the black sky, our lives for kindling. Ash will mark our loss in the morning. The final poem I'm going to read is the poem that precedes the long poem in the collection and the title poem, Some Lives. This poem is called Other Worlds. Courage, what courage? How can you say you would not survive in my shoes? The mud stinking beneath our boots, the house on stilts sinking. Love, what love? I see the dead poet on the bridge at night, walk where he walks. He doesn't know me, but knows I am there, incapable of leaving, incapable of staying. Cities, what cities? The train stops, starts, as though in a dream. I see an uprooted tree in a cloud. I think of the you that is and is not. No one departs. Lives, what lives? We are only resembling. The fish are turned out, already cooling in the pan. The old world ends, the other awaits.